Alright, we are here in beautiful sunny Florida, and today, fight fans, we are going to be breaking down UFC Fight Night 108, Swanson versus Lobov in Nashville, Tennessee. And so, looking over this card, man, I would say when it comes to free TV fight nights, this card is like slightly below average, man. And it is really only because of the main and co-main event is slacking just a little bit. They just don't feel like true main and co-main events. However, like the main card, it's pretty nicely stacked for free TV. I mean, none of the fights on the main card are really bad at all. I'm really honestly looking forward to every single one of those fights. And even on the prelims, man, there's some good damn names on the prelims, a couple decent prospects. It's not bad, man. It's really just lacking that true main and co-main event. But yeah, man, not a bad card. Definitely like it from a betting perspective, as always. And speaking from a betting perspective, man, last card, UFC on Fox 24, Johnson versus Hayes. I did have my second best night in my year and a half long betting career. I did manage to profit 11.33 units, so very good night for me there, man. A lot of guys came through for me, man. Hanato Moicano, Robert Whitaker, great night, man. So yeah, man, anything that yeah, actually, you guys have been crushing it with the subscribers. I appreciate that a lot. I'm up to 350. I started the year with 100, so huge shout out to all you guys. You guys are all savages. And if you're not subscribed, man, go ahead and subscribe because there's so much fun shit coming to this channel. And of course, like the video and comment below, tell me who you are going to be betting on for this card, man. But speaking of this card, let's get right into it, man. First fight of the night, we got old Hector Sandoval minus 120 taking on Matt Schnell plus 100. So, man, Sandoval, third fight here, man. In Matt Schnell, second fight. Both guys tough outs in their debuts. Hector Sandoval fought, of course, this most recent title challenger, Wilson Hayes. He got just demolished in a minute. Matt Schnell, he went out there up a weight class and fought one of the most dangerous strikers in the division, Rob Font. He got dusted in like 3 minutes. And then Hector Sandoval, he went out in his second fight. Granted, it was Freddie Serrano, but he did look pretty damn impressive there. So Hector Sandoval, he's not as bad as everyone thought he was after the Hayes fight, but he's still not anything great. I don't think we're looking at a future top 10 guy here by any means. Now, Matt Schnell, I do think he has some top 10 potential. He has got a lot of potential. Kid's young. He's big for the weight class. He's very skilled grappling, and he's improving on that striking, man. And so both two very good camps going against each other here, man. So this is awesome. Matt Schnell, of course, ATT, Hector Sandoval in Team Alpha Male. I'm gonna ever so slightly lean with Matt Schnell here. I think he can get it done with the submission ability. I'm picking him to win via submission, although I think the most likely outcome in here is this fight ending up being a very close split decision either way. But I do think a finish is more likely for Matt Schnell, so I am going to go with him, and I do think he has the overall higher potential. But I think as of right now, Hector Sandoval might be the cleaner fighter, and if Matt Schnell can't get him down to the ground, we're probably going to be looking at a close 29-28 decision win for Hector Sandoval via striking. But I'm going to go with Matt Schnell just because I feel like he has more ways to win and has the higher ceiling. But no bet for me, man. I'm officially passing on this fight altogether. But moving on, we got Bryan Barberena minus 320 taking on Joe Proctor plus 260. It's funny, man. This is actually the very first time Bryan Barberena is the favorite in a UFC fight, and he is minus 320. Pretty big. I do think that line is a little too inflated. I don't think Joe Proctor should be that much of an underdog. That being said, I am pretty confident in Bryan Barberena here. I'm not going to be taking that underdog shot in on Joe Proctor, but I do know some smart people who are, so if you want to go ahead and tail them, I wouldn't hate that, man, because I do think the line is off. But overall, Joe Proctor, he's had quite the layoff. He's really just not that great of a fighter. He's got some good skills with the BJJ, man, but I think Bryan Barberena putting in work at the MMA lab, he's coming back to his real weight class of 155 pounds. I don't think that's a tough cut for him like some people are saying. It's tough, but it's not like tough to the point where it's going to affect his performance. I think Bryan Barberena is going to go out there and look pretty damn good against a rusty, not that great Joe Proctor. Bryan Barberena, I think he can get it done on the feet. think he can get it done via wrestling, although he does have to be careful of those tricky subs from Joe Proctor. Joe Proctor, he was going out there and losing like all 3 rounds to, what's the dude's name? I want to say Justin Edwards. He was like losing all 3 rounds to Justin Edwards and pulled out like a miracle sub there at the end. Yeah, it was Justin Edwards. Yeah, I got the sub there with 2 seconds left. So Joe Proctor's the guy that's always dangerous, the whole fight, always dangerous off his back. He can throw up some sneaky subs. So Brian Barberena does have to be careful, but I do think he can pull off a nice little decision win here. So I'm going to go with Brian Barberena via a 30-27 decision. Moving on here to probably the weakest fight of the card, I'd say. Yeah, man, we got Alexis Davis minus 275 taking on Cindy Dandois plus 235. Just like the last fight, man, I do think this light is a little too inflated for the favor here. I do not think Alexis Davis should be minus 275. That being said, I cannot take the shot on the dog Cindy Dandois here. If you guys know me like pretty well, I'm a huge fan of Invicta, and I know all of their fighters very well. Cindy Dandois is making her UFC debut here from Invicta, and man, so here's the thing with Cindy Dandois. She really has no striking. Like, it's just simply not there. She has a judo background. She's very good at getting it to the mat if she can get a hold of the girl. And then she's got some pretty damn good submissions. Honestly, man, the way I would compare her, she's pretty much a poor man's Ronda Rousey in complete honesty, man. She's got that good judo. She's got good sub skills. No striking, but she's not nearly as good as Ronda Rousey at what she does, man. And thing with Alexis Davis, she is very good on the mat, and she's got that UFC experience. And I do think she has the striking advantage here. So if it stays on the feet, I think Alexis Davis can beat Cindy Dandois in the striking. And if Cindy Dandois can use that judo and get it down to the ground, although Cindy Dandois is a good grappler, I think Alexis Davis might be a little bit better of a grappler. Alexis Davis, her last fight against Sarah McMahon, she went in there for the first time in like a year and a half, and she did all right in that first round. I mean, she did get taken down, but she was throwing up subs from the bottom. She was elbowing the hell out of Sarah McMahon's head from the bottom. She's just always dangerous, and I think Cindy Dandois isn't that Sarah McMahon type fighter to be able to beat Alexis Davis. I think Alexis Davis can get it done on the feet, or I think she can just be the more active fighter from bottom, or win some scrambles in dominant positions of her own, maybe even get that sub. But my official prediction is going to be Alexis Davis via a 30-27. And for the third fight in a row, I am going to be passing on this fight altogether, man. So yeah, I do like Alexis Davis here. And moving on to the next fight, man. Next fight, we got Jessica Penne minus 145 taking on Danielle Taylor plus 125. So here we go, man. First play of the night. I'm going with Danielle Taylor here, man. So basically, Jessica Penne, she's got 3 fights in the UFC. Her first fight, she came in against Randa Marcos. She wins a split decision, which I think she earned that. But I don't think Randa Marcos is that good. She didn't look particularly impressive there. And that was the best Jessica Penne we've ever seen. So next, she goes in there against Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Gets absolutely torched, just life-changing beating. Goes in there against Jessica Andrade next. Absolutely torched, life-changing beating. So she is coming off 2 life-changing beatings here, man. She's gonna be gun shy, man. I mean, we've seen it. Like, history will prove all fighters, man and female, taking life-changing beatings like that, they'll come back and they'll be gun shy on the feet. They just can't pull the trigger, and they're just not going to be all there, man. And I'm not trying to throw shade on women and talk down upon women, but it's pretty simple and clear that women are a little bit more emotional than men, and we can see that Jessica Penne is probably going to be a little. She's not going to be all there mentally, man. We've seen this a lot of females in the past. They take beatings and they're just not the same. Ronda Rousey getting knocked out by Holly Holm, just looked terrible against Amanda Nunes. Valerie Letourneau, she looked great before facing Joanna Jędrzejczyk, and then she's losing split decisions to Viviane Pereira now. So I don't expect Jessica Penne to come out here all rejuvenated and looking great. On the feet, Danielle Taylor, she's very strong. She's not the best striker in the world, man, but she has massive power, and she's going to, as soon as she touches Jessica Penne with one strong shot, Jessica Penne is just going to freeze up and not know what to do. She's clearly got the ground advantage here and is going to want to get it there. However, Jessica Penne, she's no great wrestler, and Danielle Taylor is so stocky and built well. She's got 100% takedown defense in the UFC. I think she can stuff takedowns from Jessica Penne here, outstrike her, maybe even land some kind of huge bomb and just put her away, kind of like Jessica Andrade did, or even Joanna Jędrzejczyk. I'm not saying Danielle Taylor is the striker that Jessica Andrade and Joanna Jędrzejczyk is, but Danielle Taylor has power, man. So I wouldn't take the over here, especially since the over is minus 290, man. That's a little crazy because I can see a KO from Danielle Taylor here. Not only that, man, if Jessica Penne can get it down to the ground, I think she's got a pretty big BJJ advantage, so she'd probably sub Taylor if she can get it there. But man, I really like the dog here. I think she keeps it standing and picks Jessica Penne apart on the feet. I got Danielle Taylor at plus 170, guys, so I put 1.5 units on Danielle Taylor to win 2.55. So that is my first play of the night there. Danielle Taylor, official prediction for me is going to be a 30-27 decision, but like I said, a KO would not surprise me in the slightest. So moving on here. I got Scott Hot Sauce Holtzman, the hometown guy here, minus 345, taking on Michael McBride, plus 285. And best fight odds is just moving the order of the fights all over the place for me right now, so it's kind of throwing me off. But yeah, man, I don't think so highly of Scott Holtzman. He's not that great, man. I picked Drew Dober against him as a big underdog. And who else did? He lost to Josh Emmett in his last fight. It was close, man. It was close, but I think we saw in the last fight, Josh Emmett's last fight, he's not that great, man. I did take Desmond Green against him. And then you look at Scott Holtzman's only 2 UFC wins. Anthony Christodoulou and Cody Pfister, 2 of the worst lightweights we have ever seen in this recent UFC era. So we really don't know how good Scott Holtzman is. That being said, he is probably fighting the worst lightweight on the roster here. He's got the hometown advantage, so I do kind of understand the price. I personally line Holtzman around like minus 260, minus 270. I can see the minus 345 though, just because I see this as a very safe pick. But I wouldn't be shocked if he blew this, man. But like I said, Michael McBride just terrible. He just got taken down and destroyed by Nick Lentz of all people. I like Holtzman to win this on the feet or the ground, so I'm gonna go with Scott Holtzman via 30-27. But this fight overall is a pass for me. So moving on here to this is where we get into the bulk of my plays here, up on the top half of the card, man. We got Dustin Ortiz minus 210 taking on Brandon Moreno plus 175. So I have some strong thoughts on this one, man. I do like the favorite Dustin Ortiz here quite a bit, and I'll come out and say it. He was minus 120. This was a pick'em fight early this morning. I put 2 units on Dustin Ortiz at minus 120 to win 1.66. Basically, this might be a little off for me to say, but not everyone's going to agree with this. I think Dustin Ortiz is better, man, everywhere. I mean, to say, I think he's better everywhere. A lot of people are going to say Brandon Moreno has the better jiu-jitsu. But listen, man, just because he lands some 1 in 100 lucky submission against Luis Smolka doesn't mean he's some kind of elite grappler, man. Dustin Ortiz is a very tough guy who's great everywhere. He survived submissions from Wilson Hayes. He survived submissions from Husier Formega, 2 of the best grapplers in the division. And Brandon Moreno, he's still a young kid. He just doesn't have that experience. Dustin Ortiz, he's such a strong guy too. He's just got such big strength for a flyweight, man. I think Brandon Moreno, he's going to want to get it down to the ground and use his submission ability, but I think Dustin Ortiz ultimately is going to be able to stuff takedowns, maybe use some of his own. But when it comes to the striking, man, I like Dustin Ortiz with the striking a lot. I know he isn't at Rufus Sport anymore, but I think his time there served him well, and he did pick up some great striking. I think for the most part he stuffed takedowns and outstrikes Brandon Moreno over the course of 3 rounds. Brandon Moreno, he did go to split decision with Ryan Benoit last fight out, and Ryan Benoit is a fighter I don't think so highly of. I think Dustin Ortiz is the perfect fighter to give Brandon Moreno his first UFC loss. Dustin Ortiz is a guy who's been he's just one of those fighters that's underrated in the flyweight division, man. His only UFC losses are to very tough fighters. And his last fight out against Zach Makovsky, he had the best performance of his life and defeated Zach Makovsky. And I know a couple of really smart people who think lowly of Zach Makovsky, but I think highly of Zach Makovsky, man. So I like that win for Dustin Ortiz a lot. I do think he's still improving, even with he's got a few miles in the octagon now. But I love Ortiz here, man. I think he's going to give Moreno that first UFC loss. My official prediction is a 30-27 decision. Like I said, 2 units on Dustin Ortiz. So moving on here, the main event of the prelims, we got Sam Alvey minus 120 taking on Thales Leites plus 100. Definitely disagree with Thales Leites being the underdog here, man. Thales Leites, obviously he's got just massive submission skill advantage here, and I do think he can wrestle Sam Alvey down to the ground. Sam Alvey, he trains with some good wrestlers. He's got good takedown defense, but Thales Leites, he's just a step above Sam Alvey when it comes to like strength, athleticism. He's just a better fighter. He's more of a fighter. Sam Alvey, he's got some good wins, man, but really, I mean, who is Sam Alvey's best win? I mean, it would probably have to be Cesar Ferreira, but I mean, he was getting his ass kicked before he knocked him out, and Cesar Ferreira is very chinny. But you look at these recent wins, man. These guys are not near the level of Thales Leites, in my opinion. A very shot Nate Marquardt, Alex Nicholson, Kevin Casey, Eric Spicely. Just not that great of guys, man. I think Thales Leites, this is his fight to win, man, and I do think he has evolved his striking a lot over the past years. I think he can go out there and even outstrike Sam Alvey. We know how much of a low output Sam Alvey throws out there. Now, I did bet on Sam Alvey against Nate Marquardt, and I thought the low output wouldn't matter against a guy like Nate Marquardt. Nate Marquardt did a lot better in that fight that I thought he would, but Sam Alvey still got out there and got the job done. Nate Marquardt is very shot at this point, and I don't think that's the case for Thales Leites. Thales Leites, he did lose his, I want to say, last 2 fights, but man, he is losing to fighters way better than Sam Alvey. I think his last 2 losses are to Christoph Jocko, who's a guy I am very high on, and Gegard Mousasi and Michael Bisping, man, the champ. 3 very, very good guys he lost to there. So I like Thales Leites to go out here and put a clinic on Sam Alvey on the feet and on the ground. I'm pretty confident in him, man. Not high confidence because Thales Leites, like I said, he is improving on a striker, and he does think he can strike against these strikers, and that's a dangerous game to play with Sam Alvey. So Sam Alvey going out there and knocking out Thales Leites, that's something I can see of a small possibility, which is why I only have 1 unit on Thales Leites. I have 1.1 units on Leites at minus 110 to win 1 unit. But yeah, man, I think he should win this fight. Just out-volleying Sam Alvey on the feet, landing takedowns, and out-grappling him, maybe getting a sub. But my official prediction, Thales Leites via a 30-27 decision. Moving on here, man, we got old Jake Ellenberger. He is plus 150 taking on Mike Perry minus 170. So I have some interesting thoughts on this one, man. First off, I'll say I have a complete pass on this fight. I don't have a bet on this fight, man, but I've looked at Twitter all day, and it does seem like this fight has been the most bet on. Like, this is the most active fight among MMA bettors. Most people taking Perry for sure. Jake Ellenberger, obviously, he's very shot at this point, man. But we saw in his fight against Matt Brown, he can still put dudes away, and that is Matt Brown, who is also a fighter that is, if not shot, very close to being shot. But Jake Ellenberger, man, and Mike Perry, man, this is just such a weird matchup. I'm looking forward to just watching it from a fan perspective. Mike Perry, he's got big power, but not that great at striking. That being said, he really only needs to land like 1 clean bomb on Jake Ellenberger to throw him off and knock him out. But I mean, it's weird, man. Jake Ellenberger, he hasn't been, has he? I have to see. I don't think he's been knocked out too much. He got knocked out by Wonderboy. That wasn't a real knockout by Jorge Masvidal. I think we all know he was about to get knocked out there, man. So Jake Ellenberger, he's gotten knocked out by Stephen Thompson, Robbie Lawler, have to look more down on his record. Martin Kampmann, so he's not getting knocked out all the time, and he's still fighting good fighters. He didn't get knocked out by Matt Brown, who's a very good striker. He didn't get knocked out by Tarek Safin, who's a very good striker. Mike Perry has power, obviously, but he doesn't have that great striking, man, and he leaves his chin wide open. The dude is so hittable, and the last thing to go in fighters is power, and Jake Ellenberger has power. And not to mention something else going for Jake Ellenberger here. Mike Perry doesn't have the greatest takedown defense in the world. Jake Ellenberger is a great wrestler, so that's two. I feel like Jake Ellenberger has more ways to win here, but it's the Mike Perry knockout that's the most likely thing here. So I am going to ever so slightly lean with a Mike Perry first round knockout, but not the most confidence, no play here. But yeah, man, Mike Perry first round knockout is my official prediction. Moving on here, man, we got Stevie Ray, the Scotsman. Shout out to Will Martin. Go follow Will Martin MMA on YouTube and Twitter. He's got his home country boy here, Stevie Ray, minus 225, taking on Joe Lauzon plus 185. So this is an interesting one, man. I think this is weird, man, because Stevie Ray, his last loss, he lost via his takedown defense really not holding up for him. Alan Patrick, he pretty much just took him down at will, held him there. And Joe Lauzon's got some damn decent grappling. But the thing is, Joe Lauzon is very hittable, and his chin is starting to get a little questionable. And Stevie Ray's a very good striker. It's funny, man. So, obviously, we're probably looking at Stevie Ray either probably getting submitted here or Joe Lauzon getting knocked out. And I looked it up, and Stevie Ray has gotten submitted 4 times. Joe Lauzon's gotten knocked out 4 times. But what I put it down here to, man, pretty much is Stevie Ray's in his prime, and he's an improving guy. He's a young guy. And Joe Lauzon is a guy on his way down. He's been around for a while, got a lot of miles on him. He didn't look great against Marcin Held his last time out. He got that win, but I do think that was a robbery, man. I think Marcin Held got that victory, and this is coming from someone that bet Joe Lauzon on that fight. So I like Stevie Ray to show somewhat improved takedown defense, and I also don't think Joe Lauzon is a guy that's as strong and has the wrestling that Alan Patrick does. So I like Stevie Ray to go out there and starch Joe Lauzon on the feet in the first round. I like Stevie Ray via a first round knockout, and I did get a very good line on Stevie Ray, man. I got him minus 120, 2 units to win 1.66 units, just like the Dustin Ortiz fight. I got both those guys at minus 122 units, and now both guys just shot up, man. Dustin Ortiz minus 210, Joe Lauzon or Stevie Ray minus 225. So I do like Stevie Ray to get it done here via striking and put old Joe Lauzon away in the first round. Moving on here, man, we do got a max bet here, man. I believe this is my 4th or 5th of the year. I'm undefeated on the year on max bets, but here's one right here, man. We got John Dodson minus 410 taking on Eddie Wineland plus 330. This is simple, man. I got 5 units on John Dodson at minus 300 to win 1.65 units. Very safe with that one, man. I just think this fight's going to be on the feet completely. I don't see either guy going for takedowns here at all. Maybe John Dodson mixes them up because you know how those Jackson fighters work. They just want to use a little bit of everything. Very well-rounded fighters. But John Dodson, he's got such a clear advantage on the feet here, man. Just the speed advantage is just outrageous. I see him just whizzing around Eddie Wineland, tagging with shots over and over. But most likely here, man, I do see John Dodson going out there and knocking out Eddie Wineland. And Eddie Wineland has been knocked out a few times, man, and he's got that jaw broken before. And I'm looking for John Dodson to go out there and break Eddie Wineland's jaw once again. I just think he's a much sharper striker at this point. He's got a lot more left in the tank when it comes to his career than Eddie Wineland. Now Eddie Wineland is coming off a couple nice wins, but man, that is I forgot who his last win was, but I know he beat Frankie Saenz before that. Who did Eddie Wineland just beat? Jesus Christ, I want to say it was it Takeya Mizugaki? Jesus Christ, yeah, that's right. He knocked out Takeya Mizugaki, but Takeya Mizugaki and Frankie Saenz nowhere near the level of John Dodson's striking or nowhere near his level of speed. This is just crazy, man. Those are 2 old guys. John Dodson, John Dodson's got some miles on him, and he's not no spring chicken, but he's still young enough, and he's still so speedy. He's going to be too much for Eddie Wineland here on the feet. Just going to be tagging him over and over and probably getting that knockout. So 5 units on John Dodson at minus 300 here, and I also have 1 unit on the under 2.5 rounds at plus 120, so to win 1.20 units. I just see it's very likely that John Dodson knocks out Eddie Wineland here under 2.5 rounds, and if Eddie Wineland wins this fight, it's probably going to be because he catches John Dodson with something under 2.5 rounds, but I see that very unlikely because John Dodson does have one of the best chins in the UFC, man. So, pretty high on John Dodson there, man. So, yeah, first round knockout is my prediction. But moving on here to just this fight's going to be pure fireworks, man. We got Ovince St. Preux minus 185 taking on Marcos Rogerio de Lima plus 160. So, man, Marcos Rogerio de Lima, he's a fighter I made money off of in his last fight against that jobber Jeremy Kimball, but he's going against a much tougher guy here in Ovince St. Preux, but Ovince St. Preux is definitely on the decline, man, and he got knocked out in his last fight, so we don't know if he's going to be chinny after this, we don't know if he's going to be gun-shy after this. Marcos Rogerio de Lima is a guy who hits hard, and he's got some good striking, so, man, this is a very, very tough fight for me to pick. I've switched it a few times. This is one of the harder fights on the card for me to pick. I feel like it's more likely that Ovince St. Preux uses his well-roundedness, probably gets Marcos Rogerio down to the ground. But man, this is gonna be no bet for me, man. But I'm gonna actually side with the underdog here, man. I'm gonna go with Marcos Rogerio de Lima via a first round KO. I think he finds the chin of Ovince St. Preux and knocks him out because he does got some good striking. But the thing is, Ovince St. Preux, he's got decent wrestling, not great wrestling, but I think he can take Rogerio down and submit him. That being said, the play I'm really looking at here is the under 1.5 rounds. I did take that in a 2-unit parlay with a prop later in the card. So look at Marcos Rogerio's UFC record here, man. Okay, so he's had oh wow, no, he's had a little bit more than that. He's had 6 UFC fights, all 6 ended in the first round. Even against guys that aren't really that lethal. He's gotten submitted by them, or he's knocked them out. This guy just doesn't know how to go past the first round. And Ovince St. Preux is a guy that's susceptible to getting knocked out. He is a guy that's very capable of taking De Lima down and submitting him, like De Lima has twice in the UFC before. Nikita Krylov is no great submission artist, and he submitted Rogerio de Lima. So the submission defense is very questionable. So if OSP gets it down there, he's getting a sub. If it stays on the feet, someone's getting knocked out for sure. So I'm very confident in the under 1.5 rounds there. But my pick, although not with much confidence at all, probably my least confident pick on the card, I'm going to go with Marcos Rogerio de Lima via a first round KO. Moving on to the co-main event here, man. We got Iaquinta minus 420 taking on Diego Sanchez plus 335. So, man, Iaquinta, it's nice to see him back, man. Before he left, he was one of my favorite fighters in the UFC, man. After that amazing post-fight speech against Jorge Masvidal, man, the guy, I like the guy a lot. I like his striking style. He's well-rounded, man. He's got some good wrestling. He can submit dudes, got good striking. He can knock motherfuckers out. And it sucks that he's been away for so long, because if this was a fresh Iaquinta who fought like 5 months ago, I'd be all over him winning inside the distance against Diego Sanchez, because it seems like Diego Sanchez is finally at that point where he can't take the shot to the great chin like he used to be able to. We saw Joe Lauzon go out there and starch him in a minute. I think Diego Sanchez's ability to absorb shots is pretty much gone, and Iaquinta is a very dangerous, sharp striker, so I'm going to go with Iaquinta via a first round KO. I think he can go out there and knock the guy out. That being said, with the guy being away for so long, he did retire at one point. I don't want to bank on him going out there and knocking out a guy that's only been knocked out once, man. That is my pick, Iaquinta first round KO, but this is no bet for me, man. I am completely passing on this fight. I think I honestly think that him being away for so long, and Diego, he's a guy who loves fighting. He's a guy that lives and breathes this shit. And Iaquinta retired from the game, man, and he stepped away for a long time. So, man, Diego Sanchez robbery split decision. I would not hate anybody for dating or for betting on Diego Sanchez here in this fight, man. Would not hate you for taking the shot, especially at such a good price. Iaquinta been gone for such a long time. But man, I wouldn't take any. I wouldn't hate on someone for taking that Quinta in the distance either. It's just a very weird fight to me. I can understand a bunch of different perspectives here, but just for me, I'm gonna go ahead and pass on this fight. But Quinta first round KO is my pick. So moving on to the main event here. We got Cub Swanson minus 700 taking on Artem Lobov plus 500. Artem Lobov in the main event, man. This is crazy. So let's look at our old Artem Lobov's UFC record here, man. Did have his easily the best performance of his career last time out against Teruto Ishihara. A lot of people were thinking Ishihara had that one in the bag. Before that, beat Chris Avila, but Chris Avila, one of the worst fighters in the UFC in recent history. Before that, two-fight losing streak against Alex White and Ryan Hall. Ryan Hall, very tricky fighter. Alex White, very underrated fighter. So it's hard to say, man. But Cub Swanson, just light years beyond all four of those guys, man. This is in Cub Swanson, man. A lot of people thought he was done after that Max Holloway loss, and did he have any fights between Max Holloway and Doo Ho Choi? Did he? Yeah, oh God, he had two. Jesus Christ, my memory's terrible. But yeah, he had a win against Hakron Diaz. Very good performance there. Had a very good performance against Tatsuya Kawajiri, who I think is a tough out for anybody. I just won money off Tatsuya Kawajiri on Ryzen. I bet him against Anthony Burchak. And then he goes out there and has fight of the year against Doo Ho Choi. Looked better than ever. And I don't think Artem Lobov is going to be able to eat those shots that Doo Ho Choi did. And Artem Lobov, he's a guy that has power. But we saw the shots Doo Ho Choi landed on Cub Swanson. Cub Swanson didn't go down, man. And Doo Ho Choi is levels above Artem Lobov. So, man, I think this has Cub Swanson first or second round KO written all over it. He's just the much sharper striker. If Artem Lobov starts stealing the striking away from Cub Swanson and becomes frustrated, he can easily take him down and grind him out or get a submission. There's so many ways Cub Swanson can win this fight. He's minus 700 for a reason here, guys. I definitely agree with that line. Cub Swanson all day, man. And I do have a couple bets in this fight, man. I do have that 2-unit parlay with the De Lima OSP under 1.5 rounds. I do have that with Cub Swanson wins in the distance. That's 2 units at plus 150 to win 3 units there. And I also have 1.1 units on the under 3.5 rounds at minus 110. I think Cub Swanson definitely finishes a little above under 3.5 rounds, but just 1.1 units there. Yeah, man. So Cub Swanson, I'll say early second round KO. There is my official prediction. Want to thank you guys all so much for watching. Looking forward to this card, man. I'm going to be pretty busy that night, so I don't know if I'm going to be watching it live and tweeting out with you guys. But of course, always follow me on Twitter. You can follow my bets at betmma.tip/MMAKelton, caprotech.com/MMAKelton, and of course, subscribe to the channel. Talk fights with me on Twitter. I'm down to talk fights with just about anybody. Comment below who tell me who you're betting on. And man, once again, thank you guys for watching, and above all, enjoy the fights.